What a glorious collection I've got here. Really is. I've got some stuff. Some units I like to use, and some I keep mostly for nostalgia. There's some that are a bit unusual, and some that are pretty damn amazing. Uh, you know, some that just look cool. Some that have really good function to them, and they really fit my particular playstyle. Regardless of what unit you have, it all had to start somewhere. You had to start somewhere. When you were scrub, when you were noob, you had barely been playing for an hour. You're still trying to figure out the difference between a capsule machine, a custom capsule machine, an item capsule machine, and Gashapon. At that stage. And you're like, you see everybody running around with S ranks. What are these S rank things? Well, by the way, do you know there's this thing called quests? Really? Well, what are quests? Well, quests get you free stuff. Now, granted, I've been playing for 3.5 years, so most of these I've taken care of a good portion of these. Actually, I've taken care of most of these. But these are things and stuff and whatever. But here we go. There's the actual list of stuff I've done. Okay, yay, all those quests and hidden. Well, there's one of them hidden in here somewhere are what we call the poverty tier S ranks. These are the units that, when you're first starting, you don't have to worry about going to the store and purchasing a blueprint. Hell, you don't even know what a blueprint is. You're still wondering how to upgrade an S rank because you see a really cool unit you want to get. But how do you get to that point? Where do you start? Well, you go to the poverty tier S ranks. And by poverty tier, we mean you can get them free very easily from Quest. You've got Freedom Gundam, Justice Gundam, which is probably the hardest of the three to get. I mean, to be fair, you actually have to jump through quite a few hoops. And back here is the Providence Gundam. Those three Gundams are the poverty tier S ranks. Now, I will not be including Destiny Gundam in this. While yes, you can get a free Destiny Gundam from scratch, they will give you an Impulse Gundam, they will give you a Force Impulse Gundam, and then they will get you the Destiny and all the blueprints and units in between. You can get a Destiny Gundam for free, but I wouldn't really call it poverty tier because you actually do you do have to rank up a little bit, and by the time you do, you've already gotten the other ones. And B, this one is distinctive enough, in my opinion. Destiny Gundam is distinctive enough to stand by itself, and you actually see people regularly use it after they've burned through their earliest unit and they've found their swing or whatever it is, however you want to put it. But nobody talks about the poverty tier S ranks. Freedom, by far the most frequent one you're going to see. By far the most frequent one you'll see. You might see a Justice Gundam. The problem is you have to go through that advanced combat tutorial where they basically make you play against types. So you're using a long-range sniper weapon to take down units that are trying to melee you. You're forced to use a melee unit to confront units that are attacking you at range. You have to try and maneuver through buildings. There's the one where you're both shooting and you're both, doing the same amount of damage to each other. There's to be fair, the advanced combat tutorial, it takes everybody a couple of tries, and it's not very clear what you're supposed to do because you're playing against type. Why they do that, I don't know, because the whole point of having multiple weapons. Okay, anyways. The intermediate combat tutorial, you're basically learning how to use all the weapons in the game. There's a couple they don't go over, like they don't go over shotguns, they don't go over scattering beam guns. There's a couple. They're a little more on the specialty. They don't go over the grabby claw like there is on the Perfect Strike or like there is on the Noisy Old Missile Launcher. They don't go over the grabby claws. Some of those you have to kind of figure out on your own. They don't cover scissor bits. They don't do that. They don't cover remote weapons. So. But anyways, the intermediate combat tutorial is not too bad. I think the hardest part is trying to shoot down all those Zakus in the last section. It's like, wait a minute, I'm being attacked, but I also have them flying past me. Which one am I supposed to do? Oh my god, I just lost. What happened? But yeah, so I mean, Justice Gundam can be a pain in the ass. Providence Gundam, you're more likely to see Providence Gundams running around as well. Freedom and Providence, you'll see those too. And it's not because of, who piloted which ones or what. But again, Freedom Gundam by far, and ironically, it's Freedom Gundam, the one that's piloted by Kira Jesus Yamato. So, people are just kind of, why Freedom? But you never talk about them. They're just kind of the poverty tier units. And by rights, I shouldn't have to do a video review because everybody can get their hands on one automatically. I do these reviews to show off units that the S ranks where you have to commit a lot of resources, you have to commit a lot of time and points in order to, and grinding, let's be honest, in order to get these S ranks. And in lieu of the fact that OG Planet, for whatever reason, is not giving us those S rank rentals anymore, it actually gave me the opportunity to kind of fill in their shoes. If you can't play with them, let me show you how they work. And then you can kind of base your judgment on that. So, if it wasn't for the fact that those samplers aren't around anymore, I wouldn't be doing those reviews anymore. OGP, you might want to get on that, and to be fair, I actually do like those. So, why should I cover the poverty tier S ranks? Because, you don't need to invest to get them. You just kind of do one or two missions or a tutorial or whatever, and that's it. Well, it's still an S rank, gosh darn it. I should... And you can actually buy Justice Gundam, you can buy Providence, you can buy Freedom. You actually can build them. Now, there's no occasion where it's sacrificed. All the S ranks that they're used in, you just keep those S ranks, whatever. They're all key units in what they're used in. But really, I just feel like I need to cover them anyways, just to cover my bases and feel satisfied. I've actually been bouncing this idea around for several months now, and Okami, there's just kind of, Ava, you don't need to do it. Don't waste your time. Everybody gets one. It's free. Basically, the stuff I just told you. But it's bugging me, and I think until I go over it, it's going to keep bugging me. So, here it is. 3 reviews of the poverty tier S ranks. And finally, we have the last of the 3 poverty tier S ranks that you can get as a newcomer. Now, on the other hand, it is also the most difficult of the 3 to obtain. I think you have to, Providence Gundam, you have to go through the intermediate combat tutorial, or you have to go through, was it single player mission, single mission mode, ground on easy, and then one in space, or something like that. I'll have to research it again. Of course I know which mission I'm supposed to do, but anyways, you have to do the advanced combat tutorial, which is the one that throws a lot of people off, because you're actually getting into advanced tactics at that point in terms of how you deal with situations when you only have this weapon available. So in the first section, you have to fight with Dynamas, Gundam Dynamas, and all you have to work with is that sniper rifle, and you're having to fight close range combat units that are just right on top of you as soon as they spawn. So you have to back off and try and find a way of, because long range combat or long range beam cannons, there's that knock down, certainly sniper rifles, you have to pause. It forces you to stand still when you shoot the weapon, and yet these melee units are jumping and they're all over the place. So that one can be real tricky. It was definitely tricky for me. Curios, you just have to dodge back and forth and hope you don't get shot up too much, or you can just peek around the corner like I do. It's no big deal. Most people don't peek around the corner, they just charge forward. With Exia, the difficult part is just not getting shot up. The tricky part when you get to Exia is, for me in dealing with the Exia section, it wasn't a matter of trying to get to the unit without getting shot up. The question was, where's the next one going to show up? When you kill the current drone, where's the replacement drone going to show up? And so if you play that section enough times with the Exia in there, eventually you learn, okay, this drone, when you kill this drone, the next drone's going to show up in this location. Okay, so where do I need to be? And you basically, the way I beat it was I learned the pattern of where things spawn. And once that was done, I was always covered. I always had a building between me and the new drone wherever it showed up. And then the last part, well, when you're playing with XE7 swords, aside from the fact that it's XE7 swords, there are rocks and there's XE7 swords. My problem with it is the drones would just, if you get knocked over, the drones would basically sit on top of you and just spam melee. So as soon as you stand up, they just knock you over again, which is really fucking annoying. I've actually had people hand me their account information so that I could do advanced combat tutorial for them. I did that a couple of times. I think I did that, 3 times? Or I did that for 3 different players, and, eventually I did pass through it. But, all I could do is just say learn the patterns of how the units show up. Justice Gundam. Moving on. Hard to obtain if you're going to go through the poverty tier quests, but by no means is it the worst S rank out there. I've got a hangar full of S ranks that I think are crap. Let's see, Raphael is awkward. Brave Commander Test Type is awkward. GN Heavy Weapon Cerevi has really poor reload rates and the damage is not that amazing. GN Arms Type D, worst S rank ever. I mean, ever. It has terrible reload, bad ammo, damage is just not worth it. It doesn't have anti-flinch, it doesn't have after images. There's just so many things I can complain wrong about here. Rig Contio, despite the fact that it transforms, this remote on here does crap damage. It really does. F91 Twin VSBR. VSBR, yeah, that's right. It's a bit redundant and repetitive. It doesn't really have anything particularly unique about it. Let's see. Too much pure range, pure melee. It's got too much dumbfire for my taste. Shambler was just kind of I wasn't really happy with it. Unicorn Banshee NTD. Believe it or not, I've heard a lot of people say they prefer the A rank version. Zeta 2, Z2, way too much dumbfire for my taste. Way too much, and not enough ammo or good reload on the beam weaponry. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of S ranks I've got that just lots of redundancy, lots of repetition, yet for whatever reason it's not very good. It has a reloadable melee. The weapon 1 melee, it has a recharge on it. You use it, you have to wait about 5 seconds before you can use it again. It's just a quick smash. So, I've got S ranks that I don't like. And quite honestly, I put Justice Gundam above, well, pretty much all the units that I just listed for you. It's difficult to get if you go through the quest, but, it is worth getting. It is something worth pursuing. There will be justice at the end of the tunnel. That was a terrible pun. See? He's not going to hurt you. He's got a backpack with wings on it, Can't go wrong with that. Also, by the way, rock. That's better than a lot of S-rank rocks, by the way, that right there. You see that Zaka right in front of that Zaka 2? This guy right here? Yeah, he did all that damage right there in one volley of 5. And he got more than half of his SP up at the same time, too. Five hits to knock down, 6 to kill a C-rank. One of my preferred weapons, the beam boomerang. You get 2 shots, but it's a single volley. Whereas the beam boomerang comes from the left shoulder. So yes. And what does it do? It inflicts slow. So in theory, you can kill a C rank in 6 hits. God, that's hot. A little bit of trivia for you. The Justice Gundam used to be a pure range, pure melee unit. When SDGO first came out in Korea in 2007, it was a pure range, pure melee unit. By the time it reached North America, it had become a mixed range unit. It had melee in one mode, but then it also had melee in the other mode as well. By the time I got to it, I actually found out after the fact, like, oh yeah, but that was pure range, pure melee. So I don't know which mode had which weapons on it. That's a little too far-reaching for me. Again, excellent damage on the melee. Melee swing rate is a little slower. The attack speed and the agility are a little slower, but you know, whatever. Six, 8 shots, 9 with patience. And average beam rifle reload rate. And then, really, the only problem I've got with this thing, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I believe that was 6 shots to kill. Which, believe it or not, it has the damage of a machine gun, but it's got the range of a Vulcan gun, which is kind of where I've got my issue with it. And then for whatever reason, the big melee unit has a beam spec. I don't get that. I like that little, how he finishes it off. He jumps off, and the little surfboard thing flies off. And lo and behold, Justice Gundam has 2 modes. So, is it possible it might actually have differing boost durations? I wonder. Got a good boost duration there. Speed, might be a little bit of an issue. Get these guys out of my way. I keep in mind that other mode was technically what was it? Melee mode. So believe it or not, the ranged mode has oh so slightly longer boost duration. How slight? It almost goes to the edge. As opposed to this, where let's see, how far do you go this way? It's actually a noticeable difference. But, you know, that boost duration in ranged mode, very, very, very surprising. Again, coming up a little bit short. So, it's interesting, the quote-unquote melee mode, for whatever reason, has a shorter boost duration than this mode. Well, maybe it's because he's trying to do the whole flying surfboard thing. Hoverboard? I don't know. Goblin glider, maybe? Something like that. I don't know. There's a story about that I'll tell later. So, kind of the only problem I've got with this, it's not the damage I'm concerned about. It's the range. Look at that. That's Vulcan gun range. 5, 6, 7, 8. Ammo doesn't even bother. This thing has like, okay, yeah, it's got, was it 4 different locations of where machine guns could be, and it's an S rank. So why on earth does this thing have Vulcan guns? That's not to say the Vulcan guns are not unheard of in S ranks. It's actually pretty damn rare because they're usually filled with beam cannons and dumbfire and scattering guns and all kinds of interesting exotic weapons. This one just has a bunch of bullets on it for some reason, whatever. But it certainly has a good reload rate, or it's got an average reload rate. I'd call it average for reload rate there. It's got my favorite type of homing weapon, the beam Boomerang. Doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does inflict stun. That's certainly something to work with. And oh, by the way, wicked melee spec. I killed him. Doggone it. Oh well, still amazing. As I said at the beginning, not a bad unit by any stretch. Again, the only bad thing about it really is, well, it says it's got turret machine guns, and they do indeed come from here and here. But you've also got no less than, how close can I get? No less than 4 Vulcan guns built into the head on either to the cheek guards, okay? And then you got a pair of machine guns sitting right there. So my question to you is, why does this have only the 2 puny little Vulcan guns that sit right down there? Turret machine, it even says it in the name, turret machine guns. I don't know why. I think it would have been better if it had been like a quad shot, like maybe the machine guns here and then the machine guns in the two turrets there. I think maybe what should have happened was it was a quad shot machine gun. But honestly, the damage is not what bothers me. It's the range. I've said that, what, 3 times now? The range. They're treated as Vulcan guns, and that's really the only big flaw I can see in this design. Uh, Damage on these is, well, homing weapons never do good damage compared to their dumbfire equivalents. So there's always a prejudice there. But these are beam boomerangs, which means they curve really, really amazingly well. They're my favorite. They're my favorite homing weapon. And B, it has a good reload for a homing weapon. Yeah, it's not going to do as much damage as a cluster of homing missiles, but I can live with it because at least I know for certain, almost for certain, 90% of the time that boomerang will hit. So that's a really nice thing to have around. This mode's just kind of there are plenty of Syrinx that are melee beam rifle Vulcan gun. And this, like I said, at one time this had a pure melee, pure ranged mode. How it was arranged at the time, I don't know, and I'll be honest, I didn't bother researching it, either then when I found out or now. So, whatever. Let's see, let me reset that. It was free, so why not? What would I do with it? Because it's a rock, because it's believe it or not, this is what I classify as a shooty rock. Yeah, it's Vulcan guns and okay, it still shoots more than it melees, which I've heard some people complain. Justice Gundam, why doesn't he have some sort of an attack involving the surfboard thing here? I can't think of what this is called. It doesn't really matter. Why don't the surfboard thing? Why don't you have those big beam cannons on the shoulders? Why aren't those used? Good question. Believe it or not, Justice Gundam is covered with ranged weapons. I mean, it's got machine guns all over the place, which is weird considering the enemy also has phase shift armor. Just saying. It's got big beam cannons. It's got dual beam rifles. Beam sabers. It's got a beam rifle. It's got beam boomerangs, and it's got lots and lots of bullets on it. So, do I think it could have been done a little differently? Yeah, I suppose it could have been done differently. But what is here is not bad. So what would I do with it? Not because it's a heavy melee unit, but rather because it's a melee unit. I'm probably going to go with a defensive build, and I'm going to make it as tanky as possible. Like it's not going to contribute much, and you're going to call me crazy. It's not going to contribute much, but I would much rather sit back with my beam rifle and just kind of do the medium range support where I'm not going to be outside visual range. I'm going to be in the middle of the fight. So this has an incredible boost duration on it because it's an S rank rock. It says it right there, and it's got some good melee on it. It's respectable. I like Justice Gun. I mean, that's why I took the time to paint it up and decal it up and everything like that. That being said, and those were just default what I just did there, or what I just reset there a few minutes ago. I'm not going to worry about boost duration. Reload rates, nah, you don't have to worry about it because, 2 of the 3 weapons there reload really fast anyways, and alternate mode weapon 2, there's a lot of shots there, so, you don't have to worry about anything. So probably that, and that, go away. I should almost do a mobile. Well, why not do an attack type? Just make it stick. Now that I think about it, and then do the attack up. Which, by the way, didn't you just have that? Didn't you just erase it? Yes, I did. There is no ranged special attack. It's just melee and beam. The beam, I think, is a little misplaced. The beam spec is the justification for what these cannons are used for. That's where the beam spec comes from. In my opinion, that's kind of a poor excuse. Justice Gundam didn't have that huge beam spam thing, unless you start talking Justice Meteor. But anyways, make it last a little bit. But you could go defense build and then do the puny little 3 points of attack up. But I'm going to do this version because I want that extra 9 points of attack up. Agility, dash speed, those are all fine. You don't have to worry about that. There's a shield on the arm in both modes. It's on the left side only, so there's that. I'm not going to worry about the shield. There's no projectiles. Now it says bullet weapon speed increase. Oh, I'm sorry. They're actually talking about the what is it? The homing boomerangs right there. Um, attack speed cooldown. Like maybe the melee's too slow for you. You know, that might be something. There is, to be fair, there is a noticeable difference between the melee speed here and the melee speed in this mode. There is definitely a difference. This version's a little slower. So I mean, if you're that bothered by it, you know, go ahead and increase the attack speed. Unit defense, that thing. Yeah, I know I don't have it. And then I don't know, maybe that. Balance types not really going to make too much difference. The only reason I said attack type is because I want this specifically, which you could do it here, but it's only 3 points. Over here it's 9 points, so that's why I went with the attack type. So, I mean, beyond that, there isn't really anything. Again, it's just like the other two Poverty TRS ranks, Freedom and Providence. Justice Gundam doesn't really have any inherent flaws. I think the only problem with it, again, is just it's got Vulcan guns, which just bugged the hell out of me. Combine it, I suppose. It's a good medium range spammer, I'll say that. The skills, identical to Freedom Gundam, of course. Phase shift armor, you know, by the time you get to the S ranks, you got a lot of beam weaponry, so phase shift armor might be outdated, or you know, maybe they should have done a unique Justice Gundam and Freedom Gundam version of phase shift armor where it gave you other bonuses, maybe increased defense overall, and then it gave you increased defense against projectile defense ballistic weaponry. Yeah, maybe something like that. And I'm also saying that of Freedom Gundam as well. Again, the horizontal boosting, really useful thing to have. Okay, I said that in another review. Let's see, I'll get you into this mode. I want to say it's on top of each wing and the shoulders. It turns it to the sideways. It turns it to the side, which is really freaking deceptive. But believe it or not, those decals are actually being placed on top of the wings. Let's see. There's the other wing. So there's that one. There's that one. The third one's going to show up right here, I think. Yeah, there's the third one right there. So all three decals end up on the backpack, flying, whatever this thing is. You know, I've been trying to make that joke for a while now. I keep stumbling over it. When I initially got Justice Gundam, you know, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do this. That kind of looks nice, whatever. Blah blah blah, whatever. Or you know, maybe I'll do this. I mean, that looks nice. That's actually not too different from what I already have right now. There was that. Unit 4 coloring. No, it didn't really work. The white and the yellow are in kind of weird places. So yeah, I couldn't really do that. I don't know if I still have one though. I don't. So I'm gonna have to try and what's the phrase? I'm gonna have to kind of play around with this and imitate a paint set that I don't have anymore. Let's see. You know, I'm gonna go to the store. I can't remember how I did it. There we go. And unfortunately, I can't transform it. But the reason I had this particular paint set, aside from the fact that you know, free paint set, whatever. The reason I used this paint set when I initially got the Justice Gundam is because it reminded me of the Green Goblin, which was, you know, all the rage at the time, you know, New Goblin and Emo Peter and stuff like that. So I decided to go, you know, do the whole Green Goblin thing because why not? It looked like it, and the backpack turned gray, and whenever I was boosting around, I'd go, hey, I got Cool Kid to chuckle. Must have been worth it. So yes, Justice Gundam. Nothing wrong with it. I'll say it one last time. Difficult to obtain if you go through the quests. Not impossible by any means. Just tricky. And believe it or not, it's actually in the store, just like the other two are. You see, Justice Gundam is right there. Believe it or not, these are all shown in the order they were originally released. So Justice Gundam, you know, was available very early on. Freedom Gundam Sure Providence is right there, and then Freedom is right there. So you know, it's not impossible to get these things. You wouldn't need to nowadays you wouldn't need to get a second or a third one of these just because it's not because of the units that are being used in it, but just because poverty tier units. And honestly, I think this one probably has the most commitment to it because Aegis Gundam, well, you can get that one for free. You can get that for free. That's cheap. That's cheap. Sword Strike, you might enjoy early on in your melee career. You may enjoy getting a Sword Strike. Providence Gundam, probably one of the more difficult ones because the X-Astray, that can take a while to get that one. Buster Gundam, whatever. SDGO, you've got one from your early quests. Freedom Gundam, Ale Strike, you get one of those from quests, or no, you don't. You actually have to. You get a regular Strike Gundam, but getting the Ale Strike blueprint is no big deal. But a Calamity, that's actually an expensive unit to get. Astray Goldframe, whatever. Din and Xeno. So all of these poverty tier S ranks that I've been going over, they're not difficult to get. Certainly not if you go through the store. It's just if you want to go for the free ones, you'll go through the quests. But Justice Gundam, Freedom Gundam, Providence, they're all, I mean, despite the fact that they're poverty tier, I know I keep saying that, but I find that phrase hilarious. The poverty tier S ranks, not bad by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, the best of them, in my opinion, Destiny Gundam. Yeah. Destiny's the best poverty tier S rank. Oh, yeah. That ends my reviews of the poverty tier S ranks. I hope you've enjoyed them. I hope I haven't talked too much. Something tells me I have, especially on the Justice Gundam here. But that's because it has an alternate mode you have to play around with. So, yeah, of course I'm going to talk a little bit longer. I hope you've enjoyed these reviews of the poverty tier S ranks. I have to say it one more time. And this is AV Unit 4A saying thanks for tuning in.